What's going on, y'all? Welcome to another episode of 10 Second Gems, the 10 Second Gems podcast. If this is your first time, welcome. Please go back and listen to the other episodes if you get a chance. Those of you that are on Instagram, follow us on Instagram. That's 10 Second Gems, the number 10 Second Gems. Or you can even follow us on YouTube. Same thing, just search 10 Second Gems and you'll find us there. So, in episode 7, the last episode, it was a short one, but I discussed the Kirk Franklin situation with his son, and it was kind of just like I need to go ahead and just upload this, my thoughts on it. But I got a couple emails about it, and shout out to you, those of you that did email me about it. A couple of you guys are dads, a couple of you weren't. I think I got like 8 emails about it. One person was a little bothered by my non-spiritual or my non-Christian answer to the situation, or my non-Christian approach or thoughts. Listen, these are my thoughts, okay? Calm down, relax. They're my thoughts, and they're not meant to hurt anybody. And like I said in the last podcast, I don't think like you think. If we all thought the same way, this would be a boring place to live, okay? There would be no innovation. There would be none of that. So this episode, I want to kind of go into that a little bit, okay? My man Jeff, I think he's in Ohio. I forget. Ohio. No, he's either in Ohio or upstate PA. He was talking to me in the email about how, like, being a dad, like, he's like, look, I love my kids, but at the end of the day, I'm the dad around here, and they need to know that, and they need to know that they just can't talk crazy to me. Another guy said the same thing in an email, and yeah, let's kind of start there, right? So I was saying in the last podcast that we not really, we like in this situation where a court of opinion. We don't look at the situation entirely. We don't ask the questions that we should be asking. We just automatically decide, oh, well, he's wrong for that, blah, blah, blah. A friend of mine had commented on Instagram and said that he understood the anger, but that at the end of the day, that Kirk Franklin is a leader in the community and blah, blah. And to that, like I said before, the guy's a man, okay? He's a man, and he's a human being. That's part of the issue, man, is people get so caught up in, oh, well, he's a pastor. Well, he's a Christian artist. Well, he's a this. Well, he's a deacon. No, he's a man first. He's a man first. When we come out of our mother's womb, we are a human being first, right? We're not believers when we're born. Uh-oh, I hear the comment keyboards typing. The future comment keyboards typing. It's okay. Listen, we're not believers when we come out of the womb. We're not pastors. We're not singers when we come out of the womb. You know what I'm saying? We're just human beings. We're human beings first. And that man was being a human being. He might have spoken to his kid 100 times calmly. And this was the time that he was like, you know what? I'm going to have to speak to him a certain way. See, another thing Jeff was saying to me in the email was that sometimes you got to talk to your kids hard. And that's true. Sometimes you got to talk to people hard. Jim, I agree with you 100%. Sometimes you got to grab people and you got to talk to them hard, because that's the only way that they react. That was me when I was a kid. I was getting addressed in such a direct and like powerful manner that after a while, that's the only way that I would react. And I was thinking about this. I think I said it in the other podcast, but what kind of young man, because this is not a child. We're not talking about a 10-year-old, 15-year-old kid. We're talking about a pretty much a grown-up. What kind of person does that to their father? He knew what he was doing, right? You knew what you was doing by doing that. And here's a gem. We're gonna start this thing off right here with this gem right here. And this is more for young people. Young people, y'all live in this generation where Anything could be put on Instagram. Anything could be put on social media for the entire planet to see, right? And y'all like to do that. Y'all like to expose things when there's fights at school. Y'all like to put them videos up. But what you're not thinking about the eternal, not the consequence for that moment. These are eternal consequences. Eternal consequences. Okay? You got to think about that. You can't just go around putting your business out on Instagram because you don't like the way your parents are talking to you, or how a principal at school is talking to you, or how your professor is talking to you. So here's your gem. There's a lot of organizations in this world. And I'm not gonna say in this world because I'm not everywhere. I'm in this country, so I'm gonna say what's in this country. And actually, when I was in Siena, with my wife last time, I was talking to someone that's from Italy about this. And we were just talking about this, and she was saying that the same type of stuff is going on. Now, here's the thing, guys. In this country, this is to the American youth and maybe to the youth all over the world. Guys, y'all got organizations in this world or in this country that are setting y'all up for failure and you don't even know it. You know what I'm saying? College, the collegiate system, the school system got y'all thinking that y'all could just do whatever y'all want with no consequence. And that ain't how it works. That's not life. I'm about to give you another gem, ladies and gentlemen, whether you're old or young. If you got a job and your boss pulls you into an office to reprimand you for something that you did that you were wrong for, and you put that on social media, kiss your job goodbye. Kiss your job goodbye. Chances are you're gonna be fired. That's the real world. Guys, you can't just go around posting your conversations and your pictures and when people fight in the hallways in school. You can't just be doing that. Do you know what kind of wheels you're setting in motion? You are setting very detrimental. I don't even know if that's really going to make sense, but you're setting wheels in motion that can be detrimental to somebody's future. And in this case, Kirk Franklin's son set wheels in motion that are going to be detrimental to his family, his father, his mother, his immediate family, and even to himself. Because right now, he got people looking at him like he crazy, and he got some people looking at his dad like he crazy. For what? To prove a point? What you trying to prove, young boy? What is it that you were trying to do? Like I said, I teach high school. I'm around young people all the time. You know, thank God that I have a great relationship with a lot of my students, and we have these conversations, and I'm constantly telling them, guys, you gotta be smart. You gotta be extra smart right now, because you are setting wheels in motion when you post these things that could damage somebody's life for eternity, somebody's family for eternity. There's people out there, there's young people and adults out there that are taking their own lives because they're being bullied online and they can't take it and they can't escape it. One time I was in a conversation with a guy on a plane, the older guys, this is the older guys, probably like 5-6 years ago. And he's telling me, oh, well, can't they just stay offline? You know, that's what I'm telling my grandson, like, just stay offline. No, it don't work like that. It doesn't work like that. And here's a gem for adults only. Okay, this is a gem for you. And listen, when I say I'm dropping gems here, sometimes I'm talking to myself. Okay, I don't want you to think that I feel like I have all the answers or whatever, because I don't. Okay, but here's a gem, and this is just from my experience with being around young people all the time. You cannot, all right? I'm talking to people that are 35 and up, 30 and up. You cannot constantly be coming at young people with this line right here. Well, when I was a kid, that doesn't work. I'm 41 years old. I'm not super old, but I'm getting up there in age. And one thing I realized in my first month of working as a teacher. I've been teaching for 8 years. You cannot come at kids with this when I was a kid line, because they're going through a world of a difference than what me and you grew up in. A world of a difference. When I was a kid and I had a bully, and I had a few of them, trust me, there was things I could do to avoid my bullies. I could run. I could take a different route home, walking, or I could just have one of my cousins come down and meet me after school and handle it. Or I had to handle it. In some cases I did. In some cases I had to have one of my older cousins come and take care of it. But there was escapability back in the day. Before this social media, before all of this, there was escapability. Now there's no escapability. There is none. Because even if a young person doesn't have a cell phone, or even if they turn off their phone, they stay off the internet, when they get out on them streets, somebody is going to remind them about what's going on social media about them. And we can't relate to that. Some of us can, but most people my age and up absolutely cannot. And that's why we can't come at these young people with this, well, when I was a kid, I used to, no, we gotta stop that. Adults, that's a gem for you. Matter of fact, bring your kid in the room right now. Bring your kid in the room right now. Rewind this podcast about 5 minutes and then hit play and watch their reaction. Okay? We gotta be more understanding as adults to what these kids are going through. But we also have a job as adults. Remember back in the day, man, I don't know about you, but back in the day, my neighbors had the right to grab me by my ear, twist me by my ear, and walk me back to my mother if they caught me doing something bad. One time the first time I ever cut class, I was in middle school, and my buddy Shaheen Moody, he talked me into going down to Germantown, a couple blocks away from the middle school I went to this arcade. And I'm like, yo, I don't really have money or whatever. I got like $1 on me. He's like, nah, come on, I got you. So we go down to the arcade. We there for like 3 hours, just playing video games. Boom, boom. I get back to my grandmother's house. I get back to the house and my grandmother's like, you cut school today? I'm like, no, I was in school the whole time. I was in the gym, is what I told her. She's like, yeah, because somebody told me they saw you in Germantown at an arcade. So instead of that person coming in and being like, hey, what are you doing? Go back to school, or taking me back to school, they just went and told my grandmother. And I was so mad. I remember being so mad and talking about somebody snitched on me, this and that. But that was community. That was community, taking care of each other. When I was a kid, that was a big thing, community. But you can't tell kids that now. You can't tell kids, when I was a kid, they don't know nothing about that. Most people don't even want nothing to do with you or your kids. They don't care what your kids out there doing. They see your kids out there doing bad and they like, they turn their head. And as adults, we have to now do what our elders did. And sometimes you gotta speak up. Now, that being said, when I was a kid, we also did not talk back to our elders. That's a whole nother issue, but that's also a parenting issue. For those of you that don't believe in whipping your kid's ass, Merry Christmas. That's what you get. Because I'm going to tell you right now, if I ever, when I was a kid, fixed even my thoughts on saying something out of pocket to one of my elder neighbors, they would have whooped my behind, and then my mom would have whooped my behind tenfold. I'll give you a story. There's a lady lived across the street from a family lived across the street from us in Philly, North Philly. And, back at that time too, like the blocks, every block, like every family knew each other, across the street, down the street, whatever. Summertime, we'd have the fire hydrant on. We'd just be, having fun. Be out in the fire hydrants cooling off. The families will be out there cooking in the summertime, washing the cars, salsa music playing. In the morning, Saturday mornings, the old ladies will be out there sweeping the steps. Just beautiful, man, beautiful. But Maria, right? They called her Toco. That was her nickname. So down the street from my not down the street, it was probably like, yeah, just a few houses down, there was a big abandoned lot that we used to play baseball. We used to play baseball in that lot. But we was in that lot one day and we was just throwing rocks, like seeing how far we could throw the rocks across the lot. So my man Junito, June, he threw, I don't know how he did it. He freaking got this rock all the way damn near to the street. And it's a long lot. So I'm like, yeah, I bet you I can match it. Boom, I throw a rock and I held on to it too long and it goes left. So here comes Toco, Maria. She's coming up on the other side of the lot and the rock almost hits her. So she's like, hey, she starts yelling at me in Spanish, get your ass over here, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, nah, I ain't going over there. I already know. So she starts walking faster. She tells me, don't you move, don't move, don't move. Everybody else take off running. Me and June standing right there. She smacks June in the face. Bow. Take your ass home. And you, bow. She smacked me upside the head and she grabbed me by my hair. Not by my ear. She grabbed me by my hair, gripped me up, and she was like, you know, y'all ain't supposed to be out here throwing rocks. You know, you could have hurt me. She take me to the house. The house is probably like 20 yards away from where we were. And we get there and she like, take your ass in the house. She pushed me, right? Like to go up the steps and she goes across the street. So I go in the house and I'm crying because, yo, she hit me hard. So I go upstairs and I tell my mom, yo, Toco just hit me. Me and Junito was just right there. So she like, what? She go across the street. She knock on the door. She like, Toco, ¿qué pasó? That's like, yo, like, Toco, what happened? And Toco tells her, there was him, Junito, and like 3 other boys was throwing rocks right there in the lot. And he almost hit me with a rock. I don't know if he meant to do it on purpose, but he almost hit me with a rock. And I told them last weekend to not be in this damn lot throwing rocks, blah, blah. My mom said, all right, no problem. I'll see you later. Turned around, went inside. And I was sitting actually on the side of the step. My mom went inside, and I'm sitting outside like, okay. She ain't say nothing. 10 seconds later, she like, Pito, come in the house. Pito's like my nickname, Pete, whatever. So I come in the house. I don't even get a foot completely planted on the floor. She is on my ass. Bop, 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 bop. I got my butt whooped so bad that day. And that night, my grandmother comes home. So, and I'm my grandmother's baby. I always have been. So I had to be in my room the whole time. And first of all, I was mad because I'm like, damn, I thought she was going to go over there and knock Toco out. Nope. So my grandmother comes home and I hear her. So my mother feared no man. And when I say man, I mean man. She ain't fear no man, no woman, nobody. My mom had no fear for nobody. She only had fear for one person, my grandmother. So I hear the door. I hear my grandma come through the door, and she's talking to somebody downstairs. And I kind of creak the door open, and I hear her like, "Where's Pito at? Where's Pito at?" And so I start crying. It's something about my grandmother's voice, man. To this day, you know what I mean? It's just something sweet about her voice. And then I hear her asking for me. I got all emotional. So I'm like, Grandma, I'm up here. I'm up here in the room. So she peeks her head up the like from the bottom of the steps, and she's like, "Come downstairs." So I'm like, I can't. I got punished because Toco hit me, and then Mommy hit me. So my grandma come up the stairs, and she like, "What happened?" So I tell her, and she come downstairs. And she tells my mom, let him downstairs. Like, I'm sure you hit him pretty bad. Like you beat him pretty bad. Let him come downstairs. So I come downstairs, my grandma makes me dinner, all that. You know what I mean? Like baby me, I'm the baby or whatever. And then before I go to bed, like that night, my mom heads out, whatever. Everybody's just me and my grandmother. Before I go to bed, my grandmother comes up to me and she pinches my arm like kind of hard. And I'm like, what are you doing? And she's like, if I ever hear that you was in that lot throwing rocks again, I personally am going to beat your behind. You understand me? And I'm like, yes. She's like, yes, ma'am. I'm like, yes, ma'am. I'm sorry. And I thought I was going to get another ass whooping right there, but I didn't. But see, that's community, man. And we don't have that right now. We don't have that. Not only do we not have community, we don't have parents being responsible for their kids. Trust me. I'm not going to break that down because I like my job as a teacher and I don't want to lose it. But there's a lot of parents out there that just don't take responsibility for their kids. A lot of them can't because they work in 2 jobs. They come home, they dead tired. They don't really have time to spend with their kids. And I'm not blaming you for that. I totally understand that. Do what you got to do, get your money. But yeah, it's a heavy topic. It's a heavy topic, but for y'all young people, man, y'all gotta understand. Again, when you post these things, you setting people up to live a miserable life. And it's one of those things that we don't really think about until it happens to us. So for parents, man, have some real conversations with your kids, man. My cousin Rose, shout out to my cousin Rose, her daughter Alexis. I call her my niece. She's more like my niece than my cousin's daughter. She's basically my niece. Just graduated from Temple University with a degree in international business. So shout out to my niece, Alexis. Love you, boo boo. But one thing about my cousin, man, I used to notice whenever I would be around him that she would just be talking to her like a friend, but not necessarily like a friend. You know what I mean? And then one time they were up in Nashville visiting, and I was just like, break that down to me, like your communication with her. I noticed that you you don't necessarily talk to her like a mom. And she's like, listen, I need my daughter to be able to come to me about anything the way she would go to her friends about anything. But she also knows that I don't play. And I'm like, okay. I mean, she's a sweet kid. So I was literally laughing because I'm telling my cousin, I'm like, I don't know when we're ever going to see you have to check her. And she's like, you know her, she's sweet. I don't ever have to do that. But, she's a kid. She's going to sometimes do things and she's going to, whatever. So, So that was one thing that always stood out to me with my cousin. She said, this was exactly what she said verbatim. She said, I need my daughter to be able to come to me about anything just like she would anybody else. And now that being said, one time they came up to visit, and actually my cousin works for an airline, so she dropped her off. And Alexis was with us for a few days. Say not a few days, about a week. And then my cousin comes back to get her, and we go to the mall for a little bit because it's not too far from the airport. And while we're there, Alexis, first time I ever see her, not cop an attitude, but she was a little upset that her mom wouldn't get her something from the mall. My cousin was telling her, wait till we get back to Philly, because in Philly you don't pay taxes for clothes. They got the same store there. So she kind of caught a little attitude, and it was the first time that I saw my cousin get in the mom mode with her. She grabbed her by her hand, and she looked her in the face, and she said something to her. I didn't really hear what she said, but she said it with like a low tone, very stern. And my cousin was like, and Alexis was like, okay, Mom, all right, fine. Okay. And she's like, do you understand what I'm saying to you? And she's like, yes, ma'am. And that was it. The one time I ever saw, I never had to be like, hey, with my niece, because she's an incredible. She was an incredible kid. Now she's an incredible adult. But that always stood out to me. And one thing that I can honestly say is there's just not a lot of adults having real conversations with their kids. I know a lot of young people have told me personally, like, I can't come to my mom about that. I can't go to my dad about that. One time I asked one of my students, like, yo, why would you tell me that? Like, I'm kind of nervous that you feel comfortable enough to tell me that. And he said, bro, I cannot tell this to my father or my mom. And I'm like, how come? Like, you should be able to at least talk to them about this. And he said, bro, I'm not even going to tell you the repercussions of what would happen if I said this to my parents. And yeah, those things stick out, man. A lot of these young people being raised by the internet, by what they see on the internet. They don't really have adults around them telling them the realities of what happens when you do some of the things that these young people are doing on the internet. And the people that they are hearing say, hey, don't do this, are people on the internet. They get a little video on Instagram like, oh, hey, don't bully, blah, blah. But they don't physically, some of these young people don't physically have a man or a woman in their life sitting them down saying, listen, this is why you shouldn't do this. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it's not a good look, young people. It's not a good look to put people's business out there. I mean, listen, I'm on Facebook sometimes, and I've unfollowed my own family members who are adults because all they do is put their business on social media, fam. Like, don't nobody care to see your personal business on Instagram or on Facebook. How you a 45-year-old woman on Facebook telling people your business? You look like a 15-year-old kid. And then your daughter, you got kids that's 13, 14 years old. They see that, and then they act that way because they don't know no better. And then the parents want to get mad at the kids, but it's like, you doing the same thing. They doing what they see you doing. Ranting, kind of, but it's for a good cause. I feel bad for Kirk and his son, man. I hope and pray that they can, that relationship can be mended and fixed eventually. I don't know Kirk. I know some people that know him because, I have a connection to him through friends, mutual friends, but I don't know the guy. I've never heard a bad thing about him. So I'm gonna guess that he's going to be graceful with his son at some point. But yeah, pray for those guys, man. They really they got to be going through it. But if Kirk wasn't a gospel singer, or if he wasn't a well-known gospel singer, the clip would have just been man goes off on his son for being disrespectful. You know what I mean? And now you got people putting in their 2 cents. Let them people be, man. Get out of them people business. Let them do what they got to do. Let that man deal with his kid how he got to deal with him. And let other people deal with their kids the way they got to deal with them. Also, when I was a kid, there wasn't nobody getting in your business telling you how to raise your kids. There just wasn't. When I was a kid, I heard my mom say that all the time. Nobody tells me how to raise my son. Nobody. And I'm very much the same way. It's none. Hey, listen. As long as I don't see you beating on your kid to the point where it's excessive, to me it's really none of my business. If I see you pop your kid upside the head, you pop him upside the head. You ever been in a supermarket and see a kid get popped upside the head and they look at you like you supposed to help him? I usually just smirk like, sorry, buddy, you gotta get it together. That's probably not funny to some people. It's funny to me. Listen, I got, trust me. I'm not gonna get into that, but just know that I can speak from experience. So, but yeah, man, these young people, they don't got respect for nobody. It's rare, or it's interesting to see the people that some of these young people do have respect for. And again, thank God that my students and I have a great relationship. I've pulled plenty of my students aside and gotten in their face about stuff. And some of the biggest thugged out kids, as soon as I get in their face, like, yo, what's up with you? Why you blah, blah, blah? They put their head go straight down because they don't got that. They don't really have that. They don't have somebody being strong with them like that they know loves them. And that's hard. That's hard, man. And I had a hard childhood, but I'm gonna tell you what, guys, I don't know what I would have done if on top of my childhood I had to deal with the social media aspect. I don't know. When I was in middle school, I used to get laughed at all the time for my clothes, my pants. Sometimes my pants were too tight. I never had the dopest pair of shoes on, never. I was being raised by my grandmother. Old school grandmother from the countryside in Puerto Rico, from the mountains. You know, we was poor. My buddy Shaheem Moody that got me to cut class for the first time, man, he used to be laced up. Always had the J's on, always had, remember when starter jackets came out? He had the Duke starter jacket, the nice joint. You know what I'm talking about. If you was into that, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And yeah, I used to get laughed at by my own friends. I used to be the center of the roast most of the time. So I couldn't imagine having to deal with that. Like that social media pressure. I'm thinking about, oh my God, man. I'm thinking about myself as a kid right now. And I'm thinking about how many times my pictures would have ended up on Instagram with a big "what are those" caption on them. Crazy, man. Crazy. And it's funny because I always tell my students too, like, yo, I wouldn't make fun of that kid if I was you too much, because that dude can mess around and be your boss someday. It be the ones that ain't got much growing up, or the nerdy dudes that end up being your boss. Some of my homies that used to make fun of me growing up as a kid still live on a block in their mom house. Some of them don't. Some of them are doing well. Some of them are in jail. Some of them have passed. There was one kid in middle school that used to roast me all the time. Last time I saw him, he was coming out the same crib he was living in when we was kids. He told me, oh, yeah, what's up, man? Yeah, I'm still here, you know what I mean? Blah, blah. I drive 2 Benzes. I don't know what he drive. Anyway. Watch who you make fun of, man. You could be making fun of your future boss. Or you could be making fun of somebody that's not going to give you a job because you made fun of them when they was young. So, yeah. So what do y'all think? What do you think? I mean, I know that the parenting thing is very tough. It's not easy. There's a lot to think about and consider, but being a parent is a job, right? It's a 24/7 job. There's no breaks. And some people don't see it that way. Some people just don't, or they don't know how to communicate with their kids, but they on social media doing what their kids doing. So they can't be mad at their kids. Can't be mad at your daughter for posting pictures of herself in booty shorts and you doing the same thing. You know what line I hate to hear adults tell young people? Well, I'm an adult. Nah. What you mean? I mean, that line, I'm an adult and you're not, that only applies sometimes. But if you're trying to raise a respectable young man, you gotta be the example. You can't just be like, well, I'm a grown man and I earn the right to blah, blah, blah. Okay, so who else is your son looking at? You want your son looking at somebody else for guidance, or you want your son looking at you? You want your daughter looking at you? Or you want your daughter to look at somebody else for guidance? The latter is not good. Loving somebody is a sacrifice. Again, I'm not a father, but I do know a lot of good fathers and a lot of good mothers and I do see the sacrifice. You know what line I love to hear adults say? My kids are 18. I'm going on this cruise. I'm gonna have a good one. My kids are grown. They were taking care of her. I'm gonna go tip it up. I love to hear that. And I've been on a few cruises, and it never fails. It never fails. There's always one person that's like, hey, my kids are grown. I'm out here tipping it up. It is what it is. Right? But I bet you that person needs some sacrifices. You know what I'm saying? So, I don't know. What am I even talking about here? I don't know. I feel, y'all are giving me confidence, right? So those of you that are listening, which is kind of weird, by the way, because the listens have gone down a little bit in the analytics. I don't know what the deal is. Hopefully we'll get it back up. But the people that have been emailing me, the text messages I've got, people just encouraging me, it's giving me an energy, man. And I need you guys to keep the love up. Send me an email at the 10 Second Gems email address. It's 10secondgems@gmail.com. And man, let me know what you think. Let me know if there's anything I could work on to make the podcast better. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, need some advice, I'll do what I can. If I don't have advice to give, I won't give it to you. Here's a gem. Ooh, I thought we was going to wrap the podcast up, but yeah, baby, here's a gem right here. Listen, don't go to everybody for advice, okay? And here's why. People will give you advice or will tell you something even if they don't really have anything to tell you if you open that door for them. That's a gem. You better quote me on this. People may not necessarily have advice for you, but if you give them the opportunity to open their mouth and speak into your life about something that they probably ain't got no business doing, they will do it. Believe me when I tell you that. I tell my clients this all the time, especially when I'm working on a project or a record. I always tell my clients, yo, don't go sending this mix to 10 people and asking them what they think. Why not? Because you're going to get, whether they got an opinion or not, they're going to give you one because you gave them the option of giving you their 2 cents. And sometimes that's not good. That's a gem for you right there. Bang, bam, bam. This past week, I've made some friends in the UK, and shout out, big virtual radio wave hug to my new friend in the UK. His name is Dave Mallender. He's a pastor out there, and his daughter is, I think she's either a co-pastor. I know she's a singer. His daughter sings, Rachel Mallender. Great people, great people, great vibes. And one thing on my checklist is I've always wanted to be quoted by a pastor in their sermon. That may seem silly to you, but that's always been like a bucket list thing for me. And this past week, my man Dave Mallender sends me a link. And in that link, he quotes me not once, but twice in a sermon. And Dave, thank you so much, man. You made my week. This has been a very hard mental week for me, believe it or not. And man, you made my week, man. And I thank you for that. Hopefully my words resonated with someone through you, through the gospel. Rachel and I, Dave's daughter and I are working on a single right now for my friend Jamie Davis's record label called No Turning Back. I'll be talking a little bit more about that when it's done. But if you go to Facebook and you follow No Turning Back Music, you'll find them in there. All kinds of good stuff going on. So I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this thing up, guys. Listen, thank you so much for taking 40 minutes out of your day to listen to my rant/podcast. I greatly appreciate it. I really, really do. I know that it's a commitment to sit down and listen to somebody talk. I have a guest coming on soon. It was actually supposed to be this podcast. I was supposed to be doing with a friend of mine, Dr. Stephen Moss from Atlanta. But things got, schedules and all that. But eventually I'm going to have him on. But fortunately enough, I was able to do a little podcast today. So I just wanted to do it and just kind of address that issue. So I'm actually going to put a challenge out there to you guys. If you have nephews, teenage nephews or nieces, or if you have teenagers that are yours, I want to challenge you this week to just have some real conversations with them and to not use the line that goes like this: well, when I was a kid. Do your best to not use that line on teenagers, okay? You may have to, that conversation may just look, the way that conversation may look is just you just having a conversation with your child or your niece or your nephew or your neighbor. I had a teacher tell me in a meeting once, these kids don't give a damn what we got to say. Let me tell you something, that's not true. You'd be surprised how teenagers react to us adults, listening to them and just loving on them. Just love on them, man. Does it cost you anything to take your son, your daughter, your nephew or something out to get a milkshake or just to go grab a cheeseburger somewhere, you know what I mean? And just to sit down and talk. Hey, so what's going on with you? Oh yeah, cool. It don't cost nothing. It might cost you $20. Take them out to lunch, man. Do something. Our young people's futures are at stake. And if I'm being completely honest, the government is not doing anything to help their future, to secure their future. There's a lot of organizations out here that are lying to them, telling them, oh, well, things shouldn't be this way, things shouldn't be that way, making them feel like everything that they say is correct and everything they're doing is correct, and it's not. It's up to us, me and you, as a community of adults, a worldwide community of adults, to encourage and to correct with love and to love on our young people. So that's your challenge, all right? If you 25 and up, because I feel like really until you're not 25, 26, 27, 28, you don't really know what's going on. I like how these 22-year-olds be acting like they know anything about the world. Nah, you gotta be in like that 25 to 28 range, in my opinion. But anyway, again, guys, thank you so much for listening. I greatly appreciate it. Wear a mask, love each other. We are all we have. Community. Love each other, wear a mask, stay out of trouble, say no to drugs if you can. If you can't, remember, jail is not a fun or cute place to visit. All right, Chamo, thank you.